I was happy to attend and take part in the conversations on behalf of the province of Saskatchewan and on behalf of a strong Canada. And we had I had a couple of goalposts that I had put out front that I wanted to see achieved. One was to scrap Bill C-69. We had some discussion with respect to Bill C-69 and the regulations within, and it looks like we have some commitment from our federal government that they will work with the provinces to ensure that some of the regulations that are coming forward in Bill C-69 they will take the input from the provinces to ensure that piece of regulation will allow projects to move forward in a timely manner. The second was an area where I didn't know if we would get much agreement, and that was to respect the courts and allow the courts some time to make their decisions with respect to the reference case that we had filed on the carbon tax, the federally imposed carbon tax. That was not going to be accepted here today. So we'll continue to move forward with our with our reference case at the Court of Appeal in Saskatchewan, as we don't feel there is a constitutional authority by the federal government to impose a carbon tax on Saskatchewan families, Saskatchewan jobs, and the people living in our province. Any questions?
Did the Prime Minister tell some provinces that they need to reduce their emissions by more than 30%? And if so, what was the amount he gave?
So this is a challenge, because essentially what we're seeing is a moving of the goalposts. When the fact of the matter is the last pan-Canadian climate change framework that was signed by all of the First Ministers in this nation was the Vancouver Declaration. That was signed with the intent of all provinces across the nation doing what they could, understanding the diversity of our emissions complex, understanding what many provinces have already done, understanding what is possible in our provinces across the nation, but also understanding that provinces would contribute to the degree that they were able so that Canada would be able to meet its 30% reduction that they laid out at the Paris Accords. So that was the last pan-Canadian climate framework that was signed by all First Ministers in this nation, and that was the intent of all First Ministers at that point in time. With this discussion today, that is essentially moving the goalposts.
What did he say? What exactly did he say? How is he moving the goalposts?
Some provinces may have to do more to ensure that, in the case that some provinces may not be able to achieve that. So he can speak precisely to what that is. But the fact of the matter is, this is moving the goalposts. This is not what we agreed to in the Vancouver Declaration from the province of Saskatchewan's perspective. What we agreed to was doing what we could in our province in emissions reductions, in carbon sequestration, to ensure that we can contribute to Canada achieving their commitments that were laid out in the Paris Accord.
What's the ask for your province then? And is it fair for Ontario to reduce above and beyond 30% to make up for your province not meeting its target?
Oh, listen, our province is working very steadily towards meeting the targets that we've laid out. We have a 40% target with respect to electrical emissions reductions. We have introduced our plan of prairie resilience just recently, which is a plan that was accepted by the federal government in the most recent acceptance of their climate tax imposition. They also want to go further and tax the families and the heating oil and the gasoline in the province. But our plan of prairie resilience, our electrical generation targets, our methane emissions targets were all accepted by the federal government in the most recent ask that they had. We are still not eligible to receive the Low Carbon Economy Fund, which I'm not certain why. But the fact of the matter is Saskatchewan has a robust plan to reduce emissions in our province. We have a robust plan to ensure that we can recognize the sequestration that is happening, the enhanced sequestration in agriculture and in forestry as well. So Saskatchewan most certainly has a plan as we move forward.
But if the country is not on a path to reducing emissions, why shouldn't the goalposts be moved?
I think in fairness, the country is on a path.
But we're not. We're not meeting our Paris targets. The Paris target is between a 1.5%, 5 degree and 2 degree reduction.
The commitment is a 30% reduction in emissions across the nation of Canada by the year 2030. That's the effort that provinces are making. That's the effort that Saskatchewan is making. The Vancouver Declaration that all First Ministers signed understood that all provinces would be doing what they can to ensure that Canada can achieve that commitment in the Paris Accord. That is a commitment that Canada made. That is a commitment that the provinces made in signing the Vancouver Declaration.
Did you get a sense of what specifically might change on C-69 that would alleviate your concerns?
The commitment that I heard was that they were going to work with the provinces with the regulatory work that's there. So we'll wait and see if that means accepting the submissions that have been made by the provinces. I know Saskatchewan has corresponded 4 times on this topic and will be continuing to correspond through the Senate in the new year. We've had no response to date, along with none of the amendments that we had suggested have been put forward. Thus, our concern coming into this meeting. As a matter of fact, the commitment that we have today is that the federal government will work with the provinces as we move forward with that regulatory framework, and we look forward to that, and that is new.
That would be in the regulations, though, as opposed to any amendment to the
Legislative amendments and regulatory framework.
So
yes.
they did agree to some amendments?
That's what we discussed.
And
together.
do you have some sense of what the amendments would be? Like
We've made a number of submissions to the parliamentary committee as well as the minister herself.
Manitoba's hydro line came out. Did you guys resolve any issues on that? Was it surface level?
With respect to
the Manitoba hydro line
into Saskatchewan. Yeah, we talk about that often between the two provinces. We talk about the opportunities for corridors between our nation for all energy products, if you will. We have, stranded assets with hydro assets in Manitoba and Quebec. We have stranded assets right now in energy assets in Saskatchewan and Alberta. And I think it's incumbent on us at this table right here as First Ministers to have those discussions about how we can ensure that we're getting maximum value, not only for those assets in their current form, but where there's opportunity to add value in those assets in other areas of the nation and then have those sold to either someone in Canada or someone outside of Canada. It's incumbent on us to maximize that value on behalf of Canadians in that room. Also maximize the opportunities we have to ensure the industry is sustainable. And I go back to the Western Canadian energy industry and the methane targets that we have put forward. Saskatchewan energy is a sustainable product when you compare it to energy from around the world, and it's a product that we should be looking to use more of.
With the feds on that.
Explain a little bit. You say it's moving the goalposts. Are you saying it's moving the goalposts because today, what did the Prime Minister do exactly differently than he's done in the past? Did he make certain provinces say they have to reduce more than 30%? Is that what happened?
There was a discussion around the fairness of a carbon taxation scheme, of which it is not fair. It is not fair in any way across the nation of Canada. It's not effective. It doesn't reduce emissions. I've said that time and time again, and it most certainly puts Canadian industry at a disadvantage to those areas in the world where they are not charging such a tax. Areas like China, areas like the United States, India, most certainly are competitors in the nation. So it is not a fair tax across the nation.
How did he move the goalpost today?
By moving the goalpost today, there was an indication that there would be some areas and some industries that wouldn't meet their targets. That has never been the intent of Saskatchewan. Our province has always been working hard, putting forward our plans so that we can look to achieve that 30% reduction, which was the commitment that was committed to in the Vancouver Declaration. That's Saskatchewan's intent.
What businesses were not meeting the targets? Can you tell us?
There's energy. In Saskatchewan, we're looking for all of them to meet the targets.
You said that there were some areas and some industries.
There are industries that are going to be challenged in meeting those targets, most certainly across the nation. And as we move forward, I think it's important for all of us to do what we can when it comes to the sustainability of our industries and the reduction of not only our carbon emissions, but the opportunity to enhance sequestration in our areas. And all of that matters. And then take that innovation and take that knowledge and export it to other areas of the world. I was just in Beijing. I was just in Delhi. And a carbon tax in Saskatchewan is not going to rectify in any way the pollution that we see in those areas. But what will help them is carbon capture and storage. What will help them is zero-till technology in their agriculture industry. What will help them is the innovation that Saskatchewan and Canada have and share it with the world so that we can truly address what is not just a Saskatchewan or a Canadian climate change challenge, it's a global challenge, and we need to do it together.
Premier Moe, can you just tell us generally what did you think of the tone of today's meeting and what the outcome, the upshot of it all, what you might have accomplished?
Listen, today's meeting is, we don't agree on everything in that room. And obviously, I don't think anyone expects us to, understanding the diversity of our nation from coast to coast to coast and the industries that drive our specific regions. So there, in no way should we be able to sit in that room, and I don't think anyone expects us to agree on everything that comes forward. But I would say this, there was some very productive discussion in there. We had some commitments with respect to Bill C-69 and working more collaboratively collaboratively on that bill, which is a very important bill for industries and pipelines in this nation. And we look forward to that opportunity, as well as, but there are other areas where we don't agree, such as carbon taxation and the effectiveness of it. But the fact of the matter is there are many areas that we do agree. We had good discussions around the opportunities for internal trade to not only realize some of the dollars that we may be missing through inefficiencies between our provinces, but also where we may be able to grow those dollars by adding value to products that were currently are stranded, moving them to another area of the nation, adding value to them, and selling them to the world, which essentially is what Saskatchewan and Canada do. We are exporting nations, and anytime we have the opportunity to take our sustainable products and add value to them, we should take that opportunity.